Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Zhou stroked his beard and nodded as he looked at Yuan'er expressionlessly. Are you ready? For what? Death, of course. Zhou's words were blunt and calm. Yuan'er looked at Zhou with his eyes that had seen many, many years past. The longer he looked at Zhou, the more he felt something was amiss. He finally asked, "Aren't you, Brother G?" They were both old men who had one foot in their graves. Perhaps, it was not appropriate for them to speak of death in such a facetious manner. However, as Yuan'er thought more about it, he felt that it was precisely because they were at this point in their lives that they could speak about death in such a way. Zhou shook his head without saying anything. Yuan'er laughed drily. He seemed slightly melancholic. He wanted to point out again that Zhou's great limit was coming sooner compared to him. In the end, he asked, "Surely, you're not here just to have a chat, Brother G?" Zhou nodded. To tell you the truth, I've come so that I can ask for your insight and experience when you attempted to attain the 9-leaf stage. Yuan'er regarded Zhou with a complicated gaze. He did not know why Zhou would suddenly ask about this. After all, he could not compare to Ji Tiandao in this aspect. Everyone in the world knew about the might of the evil Sky Pavilion's master. They knew he had long stood at the threshold of the 9-leaf stage. Finally, he said with a sigh. "If it weren't impossible, I believe you'd be the first to attain the 9-leaf stage, Brother G." "That might not be the case," Zhou said calmly. "Why do you say that?" "There's bound to be someone who's more skilled than we are. Nobody can guarantee that there are no experts who decide to hide themselves from the world." Zhou paused. Then, he added with a light tone, "Besides, who said that it's impossible?" Yuan'er was taken aback. A warm smile appeared on Zhou's weathered face. The truth was often still and intangible, which confuses the mind. Although it was not understandable, it does not stop one from seeking it. A conversation with you trumps poring over books for 10 years, Brother G. I'm enlightened. Yuan'er waved his hand. The shield barrier that Lang Luo set up before was dispersed. He looked behind him and said, "Bring me my chess set." The Luo Sect's master, Fengmiji, bowed and said, "At once." A short while later, an exquisite chess set was brought over. Fengmiji placed the chess set reverently on the stone table and stood beside Yuan'er. Yuan'er said, "Brother G, since my cultivation base is limited, why don't we have a showdown in a game of chess?" Zhou stroked his beard as he looked at the chess set. In his memories, Ji Tiandao's chess skills were great. However, Zhou merely knew about the game of Go in his past life. Moreover, he never actually played it. How was he supposed to have a match? After appraising the chess set briefly, it seemed that it was different from ordinary chess sets. There were 19 horizontal and vertical lines. There were also shallow and thin formation veins carved onto the chessboard. "Looks like your cultivation base has deteriorated considerably," Zhou said. It was inevitable for a cultivator to lose his cultivation base when his great limit was near. It was quite impossible for Yuan'er to best Zhou in a contest of cultivation bases. Yuan'er nodded. "I thought that you'd suffer the same fate. I'm surprised to see you're doing far better than I've expected." They were not fools. Both of them had lived for nearly a millennium. Yuan'er could see that Zhou was full of vigor. Once a person had enough experience, knowledge, they would have a keen eye for observation. "Shall we?" Yuan'er picked a black stone. "Aren't we going to decide who picks which color, and who goes first?" Zhou glanced at the stones. "You're older than me, Brother G. Surely, you won't mind?" As Yuan'er spoke, he placed the stone on the upper left corner. Along the intersecting formation veins, golden energy flowed and shone. The formation veins on the chessboard were activated by the stone. Zhou understood. There was something else behind the chessboard. The power flowed along the formation veins. At this moment, Zhou picked a white stone and placed it on the lower right corner. Thud. The stones sat across each other. The Holy Land shone at this moment. The disciples of the three sects backed away. They looked around at the changes in their surroundings with shocked expressions on their faces. Good. Yuan'er offered his compliments. Another stone was placed. Energy surged. With this move, countless energy blades circled above the Holy Land. Zhou's expression was calm. He understood what was going on. This chessboard was the key to activating the barrier's formation. Open and close. Chess skills were not needed here. The important thing was for him to figure out how to break the formation. Zhou focused on the formation veins on the chessboard. He ignored the 19 lines completely. Energy shrouded the formation veins. The energy seemed similar to the energy blades that appeared above the Holy Land. The chessboard is the world. Zhou placed a stone. Tap. Another stone was placed. The energy blades in the skies seemed to be swept away by a huge hand. Yuan'er placed another stone. The formation shone brightly. Several energy blades spun and shot toward Zhou in a neat formation. Get back. Lang Luo, Pan Litian, and Little Yuan retreated to the edge of the Holy Land. The Luo sect master, Fengyi, leaped away from them and landed among the crowd. Everyone was looking at the energy blades with shocked expressions. Boom. 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 When Zhou placed his stone, more energy blades burst forth in the Holy Land. Their energy blades collided. After some time, the energy blades suddenly faded into thin air. Yuan'er suddenly opened his cloudy eyes. He looked at Zhou and made some noise out of shock. Zhou held a stone between two fingers. He was focused on the formation veins on the chessboard. Yuan'er felt as if the pent-up frustration in his chest had been dispersed as realization dawned on him. I see. What do you mean? Zhou did not look up. The lack of moves is the best move. No stones are better than having them. I'm impressed that you aren't influenced by the lines under the circumstances, Brother Ji, Yuan'er replied. Zhou was still looking at the formation veins on the chessboard. It's not that I'm disregarding the lines. I don't even know how to play. Yuan'er smiled faintly. He picked a stone and placed it on the chessboard. Tap. Another soft sound rang in the air. This time, Yuan'er placed it at the center of the board. The formation's veins suddenly connected with the 19 lines. A blindingly bright light shone on the Holy Land, obscuring everyone's sight. Zhou cocked an eyebrow and looked up. A slight frown could be seen on his face. Yuan'er seemed to have disappeared. In his place was a peculiar sight. A young man was swiftly growing. His joy, anger, sadness, happiness, tough times, and good times played out before Zhou's eyes. The young man was cultivating painstakingly. This was Yuan'er's consciousness. Zhou had once guessed that his lost memories had been sealed inside the crystal through similar methods. He had confirmed this from Yu Shangrong. Did Yuan'er attach his consciousness to the chessboard while he attempted the 9-leaf stage? The scene changed. The sun and moon crossed the skies. Night and day alternated. Yuan'er sat in a world filled with energy. Zhou saw vast amounts of power gathering in Yuan'er's Dantian sea of qi. The power of a peak 8-leaf elite. Zhou could sense how mighty this power was. It was expanding and growing at an extreme speed. Was this the process of attempting the 9-leaf stage? Zhou saw that the golden lotus under Yuan'er behaved like a vortex that secretly absorbed the power. Only 100 Tribulations Insight Avatar could produce a golden lotus. The golden lotus was like the roots of a tree which provided power for the leaves to grow. However, at the moment, the golden lotus was absorbing power. Yuan'er did not seem to notice this. Zhou had difficulty believing this. He wondered, is this the reason his cultivation base deteriorated? Whiz. The power dispersed. The golden lotus vanished. The surroundings returned to their original state. Yuan'er held a black stone between his fingers and his arm was suspended above the chessboard. Zhou was in the same posture. They looked into each other's eyes. Zhou did not place his stone onto the chessboard. Instead, he looked at Yuan'er who sat opposite him. His eyes seemed devoid of emotion. It was quiet and still. The disciples of the three sects only saw that the two old men were having a game of chess. When the energy blades in the skies vanished, they saw them maintaining their strange posture for a long time. This continued for a very long time. They saw Yuan'er's index and middle fingers starting to tremble. The black stone between his fingers slipped out of his grip and fell onto the chessboard. Clack. The formation veins on the chessboard dimmed. The golden radiance faded as well. The stones on the chessboard seemed to be eroded by the wind. The 19 lines were still clearly visible, but the formation veins had vanished. Patriarch. When Fengji, the sect master of Luo sect, saw this, he was so anxious that he wanted to rush to his patriarch's side. Yuan'er said tonelessly, Nan Gongwei. Yes, Patriarch? Deal with anyone who dares approach us with the heaviest punishment of the three sects, Yuan'er said. Nan Gongwei was taken aback. He was confused. Nevertheless, he bowed and said, as you command. Nan Gongwei planted himself in front of the old men. The disciples of the three sects and elder you could only stop in their tracks. They sighed and shook their heads. Yuan'er looked at Zhou and said, I've lost. He shook his head lightly. His mental state seemed to have deteriorated compared to before. I had two reasons for having a game of chess with you. First, it was to spar with you, Brother G. However, you weren't affected by the 19 lines at all. Second, I hope I'd be able to see what's sealed in the chessboard. There are many things that I can't remember clearly anymore. I'm not sure if I was any help to you, Brother G. He seemed to be mocking himself. Play your piece, then. Zhou looked at Yuan'er with a calm expression and said, I've already seen what you're trying to show me. Is there a need to continue this game? It's only right to accept a loss in a game of chess. 30 years. Gone in the placement of a stone, Yuan'er said. To be more precise, he had sealed his memories regarding his attempts to attain the 9-leaf stage in the chessboard. Finally, he decided to unseal it with a game of chess. The price of unsealing the memories was his life. Zhou could guess as much when he saw Yuan'er's obvious exhaustion. Regardless of where I place my stone, are you certain you're willing to pay the price? Zhou asked as he studied Yuan'er. My defeat is certain. Whether you place the stone or not, the outcome is the same. There was a pleading look in his eyes as he met Zhou's gaze. I might have a chance at living if you play the piece. Zhou shook his head. He's as foolish as Gong Yuandu. However, the difference was Gong Yuandu was actively seeking death while Yuan'er wanted to live. Only a person who's willing to pay 30 years of their life have the right to overcome the chessboard. What a foolish setting. Zhou looked at the eroded chessboard. He brought his arm down slowly. Just when Yuan'er thought that Zhou would place the stone on the appropriate spot, Zhou moved to the left and placed the white stone in between 4 black stones. Yuan'er was taken aback. There was a gust of energy before the chessboard dissolved. There was a flash of light on the veins of the Holy Land under their feet. Then, everything went quiet. Yuan'er leaned backward. Nan Gongwei was baffled. He asked in a hoarse voice, Patriarch, why? Yuan'er did not answer him. He looked at Zhou and said, Thank you for being merciful, Brother G. This way, you'll lose less. 30 years. I left 10 years for you to live, Zhou replied. He could clearly sense that much of Yuan Tianluo's life had been taken away by the veins of the chessboard. For the disciples of the three sects, merely half a day had passed. However, for Yuan Tianluo, 20 years had gone by in just a blink of an eye. I didn't expect you to make this move, Brother Ji. Yuan Tianluo was slightly moved. He could not understand why Ji Tiandao, who was older than himself, would give up on a stone like that. After a moment's silence, Yuan Tianluo looked at Zhou and said, "Can you tell me what you saw, Brother Ji?" Zhou sighed and said, "I'm not entirely sure." Yuan Tianluo nodded. There aren't many capable of reaching the peak 8-leaf stage to begin with. It's true that nothing can be confirmed with my experience alone. Since you've tried it, Brother Ji, do you have any recollections or insight? I can't recall them clearly, Zhou answered frankly. Perhaps, all cultivators would face this eventually. When their powers were at their peaks, nobody could clearly see the changes in their golden lotuses. Even so, Zhou managed to get a good glimpse of what happened as a bystander. Who would have guessed that things would turn out this way? Zhou had no intention of telling another soul about what he saw. Yuan Tianluo nodded. He was looking more lifeless by the second. The loss of 20 years, naturally, took a toll on his condition. Patriarch. This time, even Nan Gongwei, the sect leader of the Tian sect master, could no longer restrain himself. He was the first to rush over and support Yuan Tianluo. Yuan Tianluo frowned and shouted, "Who gave you permission to come here?" Zhou raised a hand. "It's all right. At the very least, these people had a conscience." When Nan Gongwei supported Yuan Tianluo, a shocked expression appeared on his face as he said, "Patriarch, your lifespan?" He was frightened to the core when he sensed the lifespan that had drained out of Yuan Tianluo. He shifted his gaze onto the stone table in front of himself. The eroded chessboard looked different now. "Senior Ji. Why do you have to be so overbearing?" Nan Gongwei could not understand why Zhou insisted on unsealing the chessboard. The price of 20 years might be nothing for other cultivators, but it was extremely precious for Yuan Tianluo. Zhou stood up slowly. He placed one hand on his back and stroked his beard with the other. He ignored Nan Gongwei. Yuan Tianluo's condition was deteriorating. He lifted his hand slowly and grabbed Nan Gongwei's arm. He said, "Don't be rude. Patriarch, but it's come to this." Suddenly, the radiance of a sword shot toward them from the skies above the Holy Land. Energy blades filled the skies. A figure was faintly discernible among the energy blades. "I want my junior brother's life back." The disciples of the three sects inhaled deeply. They stared at the sword path elite who began his attack with a grand technique. The first seat of the Yuan sect's sword altar, Sword St. Luo Shisan. Someone exclaimed. Sword St. Luo Shisan. Surrounded by thousands upon thousands of energy blades, he dove toward the Holy Land with the swords. He was flying parallel with the ground. With the sword in his hand, he aimed for Zhou's face. Was he really going to attack the evil Sky Pavilion's master here in the middle of the Holy Land? His sword slashed in the air as he attacked with all his might. "Master!" Little Yuan and Ming Shiyin exclaimed in unison. Lang Luo and Pan Litian frowned as well. What they did not expect was, Zhou remained unmoving with one hand still resting on his back as he stroked his beard. Swoosh! The thousands of energy blades converged with the sword in Luo Shisan's hand as he aimed for Zhou's forehead. To gain the power to silence everything, to maintain and manifest samadhi. Like light and shadow, permeating everywhere while staying still in samadhi. This was the heavenly writing's power of muting. Zhou raised his right arm. Faint blue energy swirled around his fingers. Smack! Zhou's expression remained apathetic as he caught Luo Shisan's blade between his index and middle fingers. The thousands upon thousands of energy blades dispersed at once. Everyone else was shocked. How was this possible? Zhou twisted his fingers. Bam! The sword snapped. With fluid motions, Lu Zhou struck Luo Shisan's chest with his palm. Lu Zhou stood on the Holy Land. Blue energy was channeled into the ground. A blooming blue lotus could be faintly seen. Luo Shisan seemed to have lost his ability to think. He forgot all about attacking. The palm seal landed. There was another bang, and Luo Shisan reeled back before he fell to the ground. Thump. He crashed headfirst onto the ground like a wild dog eating poop. His broken sword fell from the skies. Both halves landed before him.